All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. I'm gonna be talking about how this world is rigged, man. Alright? How this world is a rigged game, man. Alright, this current world. And if you watch the that boxing match yesterday between Fury and Usyk, right? You would have noticed that in round 9, that referee saved Tyson Fury from losing in that round, man. Right? And then because Jake's honest, after the fight, Derek Chisora confronted that ref and told him, "You need to learn maths better, man. You need to get your maths right. You ain't supposed to count like you ain't supposed to count like that." And in this fight, man, in that round 9, the referee dived out of nowhere and stopped Tyson Fury from getting his head punched in, man. Which you're not supposed to even do that, right? To try and get him to win, to try and make it be favorable in terms of who was actually winning the fight. And it just shows that this world's rigged, man. Instead of just judging the fight how it's supposed to be according to the rules, he tried to rig it, man. There ain't no time wherever a fight ends up like how Tyson Fury was in that round, right? And the referee just randomly jumps in and starts counting to 10 or counting to 8. That don't normally happen. If the fight is just some waste man, journeyman that nobody ever thinks he's gonna win, the referee would have in fact jumped in to say you've lost, mate. You was out on your feet and all of that. But then certain people in this world get favoritism because it's a rigged game. Now Fury still ended up losing anyway. But the point was in round 9, and I looked back at it, man. I've watched it a couple of times more today. And the referee was literally, if you watch it back, man, depending on which video you watch, at certain points, if you pause the video, you'll see the referee deliberately getting in Usyk's way in round 9 to try and stop him from being able to punch Fury in the face, man. And if you skip forward, like look at this guy, man. Look at him there. He didn't even look like that after Wilder punched him up, man. After Wilder was getting to him. But in this one, right? In this round, in this fight, man, he was really getting punched up around that ring, man, in that round 9, man. He was really getting served up. And the referee jumped in out of nowhere and starts counting to 8. As Usyk was about to land a left hand cross, right? The referee just jumped in, and then he ended up not throwing that punch, but that would have been the ending blow of the fight. Right? Like the whole thing's rigged, man, and that's how it happens in this world, man. When a Hebrew Israelite brother gets one of these heathens on the ropes, right, with the doctrine, then out of nowhere, 1/2 Jake or some raccoon wants to come out of nowhere, trying to give him an 8 count, man, so that they can get some time to recuperate, man. Or somebody would jump out of the woodwork and they'll create a law. So which is what they've did now in this world, where they've made a law now to where they've gave a broad definition of anti this and anti that. They've gave a broad definition now, so anything could say if somebody that's of that JOO says something to you and you're like, I don't know if you're telling the truth. Oh, that's anti this, that's anti that. It's ridiculous. And that's the same thing how it is in this world, man. To where you can't really make it down here. You can't really make it down here. And I was listening to the brothers of the GMS London camp, man, of all the different ones going into certain things, man. And this world, they was going into how this world's rigged, and it is. Like, if you want to really make it in this world, right, you have to do something dodgy, man. And I've personally before been at a job, right? And the Jake on the job told me about when we was in the place that we was working. He said that he said the line that's in the movie Training Day to me. And then when I told him back, I said to him, that movie's you know what you just said to me is in the movie Training Day, right? And then the next day, he came back to me and said I squirmed, like I really was disgusted with myself, after I watched that scene and I found out that, yeah, what he said is true. Like, and what he said to me is that in this place, you have to have some dirt on you to get by in this place. He said that to me, man. He said you have to have some dirt on you to get by in this place. And that's why certain times Yahweh will remove a brother from a certain place, man. Because not every single time when you might end up getting taken out of a situation, it's because you was wicked, man. Not every single time. Sometimes it could be because of that, because you did a foolish thing in a certain scenario. But sometimes it's because Yahweh's protecting you from even being around certain kinds of people, man. And that goes with all kind of things. If a woman leaves a man, right, it's not necessarily because he wasn't laying the smack down on her and he weren't hitting it right and all of that kind of, oh, he was a bum, he was a waste man, he didn't have money, he didn't have this, he didn't have that, right? Sometimes it's because a wicked woman is given unto as a portion to a wicked man. So as that brother's changed, right, well then that wicked woman that was around him ain't gonna like the change, and she's gonna remove herself from him, man. That's what's gonna end up happening. But this fight was showing me, like, this fight was a good example of how this world is. They try and rig it, man. But even though they try and rig it, the Israelites are still going to win in the end, man, because Yahweh's the main one that's really got it rigged. He's got his elect, right, that have been given programmed works that are going to allow them to receive mercy and salvation. Ephesians 2:8, for by grace you are saved, and not for faith is a gift. Salakia, man, I can't think exactly how it says it, man, but Ephesians 2:8 to verse 10 pretty much goes into how we're saved by grace, man, not of works, lest any man should boast, for we are his workmanship, created in a Mashiach Yahushai unto good works, which Yahweh has before ordained that we should walk in them. So any work that a man has, like the whole thing really is rigged, but it's rigged at the highest level by Yahweh, man, so that his elect can make it. And even in terms of like how people want to try and say stuff like, oh, the Israelites sinned and all of this, the whole grace thing, right? And the whole humans not having free will thing was done so that the promise can be guaranteed to who it's supposed to go to, man, which is Abraham and his descendants, which are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because even though Abraham had other sons, the ones that are counted as being his descendants are not every single person that comes from him. The Edomites is the simplest way to prove that, because that was literally Jacob's twin brother. But they didn't end up getting the same blessing. And if they did, then someone's got to explain why the Edomites didn't go into captivity in Egypt. In fact, the Edomites were trying to stop the Israelites when they was fleeing from the captivity, man, when they was leaving from the captivity to go into the land that they was promised. The Edomites was there killing them, killing the weakest people at the back. And Moses was saying to them, oh, we've got a common ancestor. They didn't care about it. They was on violence at that time. They weren't saying, oh, we're spiritual Israel back then. They weren't saying what Vocab Malone's talking about, how everyone, we're all the same people. We're the same nation because we've both got the same father. They weren't saying that. The Edomites have never said that in no time when they've had the chance to have the upper hand over Israel. It's only when they have got the lower hand that they even want to think something like that, the way they want to conjure up an idea to try and escape judgment for themselves, man. Now, this whole world's rigged, man. And even this fight shows an example of how they do it. But then when they're like, you know what, this ain't gonna work this time round, then they're like, okay, to hell with it. We're gonna get some money back on the second fight anyway. You know? Like, I couldn't believe when I was watching this that the referee was sneakily getting in his way. He was like putting himself in his way, like just where he's kind of in front of Usyk's shoulder, but he's not completely in his way. Then he jumps in and starts counting when referees don't normally do that for anyone else. But there's certain people that they give the benefit of the doubt, man, which fair enough. because Fury was ended up going and being able to finish the whole fight. But if it would have been somebody else, they would have allowed Usyk to still carry on getting those punches and at least get a knockdown. At least get a clear knockdown to where now he's got to start counting to 10. You know? And in a previous, like the whole thing's rigged, man. Because even in Usyk's previous fight, when he fought Daniel Dubois, he got hit to where if it would have been somebody else, they would have said that's not a low blow. You know what I mean? There's always some kind of favoritism, man. And if in this world, if we get into an argument with somebody that's a lawyer or a doctor or some high-ranked official, and we're in the right, in this world, it ain't gonna matter that we're in the right. They're gonna be able to overprice us and overpower us with their rank in this society, because this world has enjoyed us living in a rigged game, man. This world's enjoyed the game being rigged for them to win, right? And they've always continually wanted to make it be rigged so that they can win, man. And the main people that are doing that is the JOO. They're writing laws so that you can't say nothing about them, and then they can just go and do whatever they want to do, and you can't say nothing about it because now you're this or you're anti this, you're anti that, right? It's ridiculous. This world's trying to make it to where Esau's somehow the main victim of everything, when at the same time they own aircraft carriers. You can't be a victim of words when you own aircraft carriers and you own the media, you own the news stations that actually push the stories where you're complaining about. So how are you a victim? How are you a victim because some so-called BLM thing, right, of the people are bending the knee, but you own the league that they're now bending their knee on? You own all of that. Like, this whole game is rigged, man. But then the thing that's funny about it is because at the highest level, it is rigged by Yahweh. And when you go to Sirach, the 18th chapter, it goes into how Yahweh's got all things in the palm of his hand, pretty much, and how everything obeys his will. When you go to Proverbs 20 and 24, man's goings of Yahweh, how can a man then understand his own way? So it is rigged on this lower level, but then it's rigged at the highest level in the spirit too, man. But at this lower level, these people thought that they had it rigged because they was controlling it, but it's really rigged so that Yahweh can punish the Israelites, man. Right? Therefore, thus saith the Lord, consider your ways. You've sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you're not filled. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe you, and there's none warm. Right? And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag filled with holes. And then when you go into that in the book of Haggai, the first chapter, from the 3rd verse down to like the 9th verse, it goes into how, who's the one that's doing it? Yahweh was the one that's doing it, man. Yahweh rigged it like that so that you've got a bag with holes in it. So you're gonna be continually trying to seek more, but then it's not ever anything anyway. And the more you make, it's like the hole gets bigger, which is exactly what would happen if you had a bag with holes in it, right? If you imagine you've got a small hole in a bag, right, and you start filling it with money, right, and it's the hole smaller than the money that you're putting in the bag initially, right? But as that bag gets heavier and heavier, that hole is going to start also getting bigger, man, because of the weight of the bag. And then eventually the bag is going to have a big hole in it, the same as the side that you put the money in there, man. And if you've got large amounts of money, it's going to be like, as fast as the money comes in, it's going. But if you've hardly got any money, well, then it's going to be like you've always got nothing, man. That's how it would be. If you can imagine a money bag, and you're putting in gold coins in it, and it's got a small hole initially. As that bag gets heavier, man, the hole would get bigger and bigger, man. To the point where it's just a big gap in the bag. Right? And maybe like people say, oh, what's this guy talking about? It was just a boxing match. No, it ain't. It's never just a boxing match, man. All of this stuff, they try and rig some of these things, man, to make it be who they want to be the person to win. who they want to be the person that does this, who they want to be the person that does that. Everything. It's all rigged, man. All of these sports, they rigged the story and all of these things because a lot of people would have made more money from Usyk winning now than from Fury winning because the odds was better for Fury to win, right? So sometimes because of they calculate, okay, who let's look at the bets. Okay, so we're gonna make more money if all of these people lose from this bet that they made. Okay, we're gonna lose a lot of money if this guy wins. Okay, we're gonna lose a lot of money if that guy wins, right? And even when this fight was coming to an end, the judges were the commentators were talking like, oh, this fight's kind of close. It could potentially go a draw because they was leaving that window open for them to do a draw by where most of the people that would have probably did gambling on the fight would have all lost because they wouldn't have been expecting that. They would have some would have bet for Fury, some would have bet for Usyk. So then people would have lost on both sides, man. That's how they do things in this world, and that's why recently, when they had the NFL match, right? The NFL, what's it called, the Super Bowl, where when the team one that had Taylor Swift's husband or boyfriend, that team ended up winning, and you had loads of people online headbutting their TV, smashing their TV, telling people to get out of their house. You've all got to go home, losing their mind because they don't understand that a lot of these things are rigged. They don't understand that they're living in a rigged game. You know, they've rigged the game to where they can always win. They've got everything rigged down here, but then like I said before, at the highest level, Yahweh's got everything rigged. When the Egyptians had the Israelites in slavery, right, and they thought, man, we've had these Israelites in slavery for 100 years, they still ain't been able to escape. Man, we've had these Israelites in slavery for 200 years, they still ain't been able to escape. Man, we've had these Israelites in slavery for 300, they still ain't been able to escape, right? Man, 400, but then it became a point where now Yahweh said, you're getting out. And that's why when you go and the Egyptians wasn't able to stop the Israelites coming out of that captivity. And that's why when you go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, excuse me, when you go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, it goes into how I'm no longer going to leave my people to dwell in the land of Egypt, man, and I'm going to smite Egypt with plagues as before, because once Yahweh starts really putting the hurting on Babylon the Great, man, and all the different provinces that were captives, right? They ain't going to be able to keep us here no longer, man. And when them chariots come to beam us up, Esau's not going to be able to say, nah, they're my property. You ain't taking them nowhere. He ain't going to be able to do that. Esau ain't going to be able to quick time aim a laser beam, a ray gun at one of us, or one of his guns at us, and try and stop us from getting on a chariot. That's not going to be able to happen. If Yahweh wants a person on the chariot, they're getting on there. Esau ain't going to be, like in a prison. If someone tries to come and take a criminal, somebody that was unjustly put in one of Esau's jails, right, and they try and free that person out, they'd hardly be able to get him out of there, man. They wouldn't be able to, even though he shouldn't be in there, right? In this world, you only get out of there if Esau lets you out. But when Yahweh Shai comes for his elect, Esau's not going to be able to keep them there, man. They're getting out of here, right? Jeremiah 23:7. It's no longer going to be said that Yahweh lives that brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, but Yahweh lives that brought the Israelites out of the north country and from everywhere else that they were scattered, and they're going to dwell in their own land. No one ain't going to be able to keep the Israelites there, man. I'm going to end the lesson there, man. Like, this world, it always shows you, man, that this stuff's rigged. And boxing's rigged at the amateur level, right? Boxing's rigged at the amateur level, man. They do certain dodgy things in boxing at the amateur level when the fighters ain't even getting paid. So if you don't believe that they're doing things dodgy when there's money in it, then you are lost. If you don't believe that there's politics and all these different things in sports, in like college, college basketball, in youth football clubs and all of these things. If you don't believe that, right, well then you don't know nothing. Because there's people that have competed and taken part in amateur boxing, right, in professional boxing, in basketball, in football. There's people that have competed at certain levels in these things, and they've seen it for themselves that it's rigged. There's people that have taken place in music and all of these different things, and they've seen that people that are less talented than them have been able to make it because it's rigged. But then at the same time, like I said before, and I'm going to say it again, and I've said it a couple of times in this video already, at the highest level, in the spiritual realm, man, Yahweh's got it rigged that his elect are going to make it, even though if you was to look at some of their sins, it's the same as sins as people that are going to be getting destroyed, man. You might be able to say, oh, but you went prison, so you can't say anything. Oh, but you did this. Oh, but you did that. So you can't say, oh, but I know this secret about you, that you did this. Oh, but I know that you're an adult, that you committed adultery that time. So you're talking righteous, but you committed adultery that time. Oh, but you're talking righteous, but you used to be a stick-up kid, used to rob people. Or but you're talking righteous, but you used to be in a gang. You know, whatever thing it is that people are going to be able to say, oh, you've got tattoos, so you ain't righteous. Or you used to eat pork. You've ate ostrich before. You've ate crocodile before. You've ate kangaroo, camel. You've ate prawns. You know, they're gonna be the Yahweh. It says in the Bible, man, Romans 8:33, right? Who it pretty much says who's gonna be able to accuse the elect, because it's Yahweh that justifieth. So Yahweh's even got the game rigged, man. That the elect to the nation of Israel, they're getting the kingdom. Even if they didn't want to get it, they're getting it, man. Even if they was like, man, you know what? I want to be wicked, man. I want to be a demon instead. They can't be a demon in terms of how much how they'd want to be a demon. And that goes into the parable of the prodigal son, man. He ended up coming back and doing things that were for righteousness' sake. Anyway, Jonah, he did it too, right? There was times when Yahweh Shai was like, man, I don't want to, I don't want to get crucified, like how I know that I'm going to have to get crucified. But he ended up doing it. And he even said, I've come not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me, man. It's all, the whole thing is rigged, man. All right? In this lower level realm of this world, Esau tries to rig it in his way, but Esau don't understand that he's a creation. He don't understand that the spirits that he's trusting in, they work for who he's trying to be against, and they're rigging it so that he can lose. Right? And hopefully this video made people understand that, man, that there ain't no such thing as free will, man. And Esau's even trying to make there be no such thing as free will in his realm, man, because he wants to get rid of people's free speech, right? He wants to even try and make people's actions be changed so that they can't believe what they want to believe, man. So that their thought process can only be what he says is the right thought process to think. Right? That's what he want. He don't want people to believe that gender is an actual thing that exists. Right? He don't want people to believe that, because then if people accept that gender exists, well then they'd also know that nationalities exist too. So when you got guys like Vocab Malone that are trying to push that kind of everyone's just all the same kind of stuff, well that goes into all of that weird alphabet community kind of stuff, man, where let's just accept everything. I'm gonna end the video there, man. Shalom.